It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Happy to be with you. A football Friday for us here. I'm Jeff Parles, and I have two of the best in the business to my right today. Far side, Chris Andrews, sportsbook director here at the South Point. Vinny Magliulo, alongside as well, Gone Gaming Hall of Famer, both of you Hall of Famers, sports betting Hall of Famers as well. And guys, I'm so thrilled to be here.
We are thrilled to be here as well. I can't believe we pulled this off in a couple of weeks, but we did it. And here we are.
Always bet on us.
I was telling somebody earlier, Mr. Gone gives you marching orders. You start marching.
100%. We will be with you moving forward Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. This time slot on Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Tomorrow, Vinny and I will be on the air bright and early, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and then leading you into the NFL games on Sunday at 9 a.m. But we are thrilled to have you. Maybe Jimmy Vaccaro will even stop in at some point.
I have a feeling he will.
You know what? Knowing Jimmy and his Twitter staff, Vinny, I think he'll be in.
Like I said, he's the only one in the world that has a Twitter staff. So I'd make that. I wouldn't bet against him not showing.
We'll be on the lookout for Jimmy, of course. South Point Sportsbook behind us. A trio of games tonight that we'll get to in a second. But Chris, let's just go back up a little over 24 hours ago. The Eagles got it done. 34-28 over Minnesota, and landed right on that 6.
Landed right on a 6, but how about the first half? We needed Minnesota. I thought we had that wrapped up in the first half, and a guy kicks, a 61-yard field goal was? You have to push the number from 3 to 6. But late in the game, Jeff, let me mention this. The Vikings go up 12.
Yeah.
Why do you kick the extra point? The difference, there's 4 minutes left in the game. A 12 and a 13 makes absolutely no difference. They're not going to kick 2 field goals.
It was
when the Eagles went up.
When
the Eagles went up.
It was bizarre because Sirianni is one of the forward-thinking coaches in the league. And I texted a few of our friends, a few of our mutual friends, as we were watching that game last night. I was like, wait a second here. What did I miss?
No, I put that out on Twitter. Why you have to go for 2.
You have to go.
So we kind of got lucky there. 6 was not a terrible number. It wasn't bad. Obviously, when you're on those kind of numbers and it lands 6, it's like you never took the bet in the first place.
Right.
So that's all. But 7 would have been really bad. So I'm kind of glad he didn't go for 2 because that makes the 7 obviously extremely live. So we got unlucky the first half, a little lucky the second half. But I got to tell you, it was one of those deals where Michael's longtime partner, Frank Toady, called into the sports book. How did we do? And Nick gave him the figure. He said, "That's all we lost." That's always a good thing when Frank says something like that. I think we had a lot of other things going on yesterday besides football. We had a lot of baseball and other things. So we wound up with it wasn't a good day, but it wasn't all that bad either.
And just looking forward for the Eagles here, Chris, 2-0, but not overly impressive.
Not at all
in these 2 games. Again, their front of their schedule's pretty reasonable through the first 6 weeks, especially now with Aaron Rodgers on the shelf for the rest of the year. Just what have your thoughts been just watching the Eagles through 2 games? And maybe, again, it's still early to move power ratings and such, but a few more weeks like this, you're probably going to have to move some numbers.
Yeah, I mean, they covered the first week.
Right.
They weren't off by much covering yesterday, but I'm going to have to lower them a little bit. I heard some guys, I've been trying to listen and, as much as I could, the guys that I respect. A lot of guys are saying that Jason Hurts looks a little different this year. And I don't know if it's coaching. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm not a scout, but I do know what I see. I see him. He looks a little not quite as solid. And he got better as the year went on last year. So maybe we're going to see the same thing this year. Maybe we're not. I'm not sure.
Well, I think, to Chris's point, too, I mean, first of all, teams have had all off season to work on film and look at things like that. Eagles did have some defensive injuries yesterday, too. Let's remember, particularly in the secondary. And the other part, guys, let's face it, again, a very short, a very condensed preseason anymore. So September we're going to see some pretty surprising results. Some of those results, or a lot of those results, are going to be closer until teams really figure it out. So on our side of the counter, Jeff, as we talked yesterday, We're not going to overreact, but we're going to certainly pay very close attention to those results.
It's still very early. 2 games
Sure.
into a 17-game
Yeah.
season. The move from Steichen, of course, who's now the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, to Brian Johnson seems to be hurting that offense through the early get-go. I don't think the size doing that much different than Jonathan Gannon. I think last night Minnesota just moved the ball when the injuries started piling up in that secondary.
Yeah, and Vinny pointed that out. I mean, listen, new coaches, not enough time in the preseason. I mean, even people were expecting big things out of Baltimore. We haven't talked about them yet. And they haven't looked very impressive, but again, one game, and they covered as well too. But I don't think that offense looked all that good. They got a new offensive coordinator. We talked about a lot of new faces. They expect big things out of Baltimore. I've been a little cautious on Baltimore myself because I think Jackson 3 years in a row has had diminishing results, and I don't know if we're going to get the guy who was the unanimous MVP a couple years ago or not. I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't think that guy exists anymore.
I don't think he does
I
either.
really don't, and it's weird to say about a guy who's in his mid-20s still.
Yeah.
Just got paid a boatload of money, but
Linebackers will do that to you.
That's a concern with Jalen Hurts. He took a lot of hits last night as well, especially early in that game. All right, Vinny, to tonight, 3 college games. Let's start first with Maryland and Virginia. This is not an ACC game, guys. This is ACC versus Big Ten. Thank you, realignment. Vinny, where are we sitting right now? Again, the Terps earlier in the day a 2-touchdown favorite.
Yeah, a little bit of an uptick here, Jeff. And right before we came on the air, Chris and I were back in the office, and Maryland went to 15, so off of the 14-point opener.
Well, let me give you a further update. We're 15.5.
15.5
there we go.
So,
as we speak. So there you go. And the total on this one, that has initially bet under from 49, Chrissy, down to 47.5, 47, now back to 48.5. So, 48 now. So two-way action on the total, but it's pretty much one-sided in terms of Maryland.
Second game of the night, or same time as Maryland and Virginia, Army and UTSA. Vinny, no Frank Harris looks like the starting quarterback for the Roadrunners. Looks like he's going to miss the game tonight with a turf toe injury.
He's out, and big adjustment here now, down to 7 UTSA. Jeff, again, opened on Monday morning here at South Point, 10.5 total on the game. Now, obviously, a bit of an adjustment and a play to the under initially from 45 to 42.
Then the last one tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock local in Colorado Springs. Air Force welcoming in Utah State.
Well, there's another game in Colorado this week. Oh, okay. This is
I hadn't heard.
Air Force 9 on the opener, held pretty steady. A little bit of an uptick today. Now the Air Force, the Academy at 9.5. 45 for this total. Bet under. No real surprise here, Chrissy, that this one's coming under by a couple of points.
No, I think this is a good matchup. Teams know each other fairly well. Still early in the season, so sometimes those games tend to be a little lower. It can be. I think right now we got a pretty good schedule for a Friday night. I'm sure we're gonna need Virginia. I'm not sure who we're gonna need in the Army UTSA game or the Air Force game. So we got some pretty good action, and we should have some fun tonight. A lot of baseball too.
Yeah, a lot of baseball. That me personally, as the bettor on set, I've now looked at a baseball line and probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really.
I've been pretty disciplined since football season started.
Well, I still got to look. I hate to.
I know you guys got to look, but at least for myself,
I don't have strong opinions, but I got to look at the numbers.
No, I know Tampa and Baltimore continue their gigantic series, so hey, at least on the line there.
Rays closing in.
Rays are only a game out now.
Yeah.
Got back in the mix after, of course, slowing down after that historically good start for the Rays. All right, guys, let's talk some more college football, though. Let's look to Saturday. All right, Chris, I love this. I love that we're starting the Saturday slate here, talking about a game that's a 4-touchdown opener here. But Florida State, Boston College, there could be weather throughout the Northeast with the impending tropical storm looking like it's going to make landfall. Chris, where are we sitting right now? Florida State, Boston College. Of course, the Seminoles off to a very good 2-0 start.
Oh, I think the weather is part of the handicap here. We opened this game 28. We're down, when I started writing our numbers for the show, we were 26. We're now down to 24.5.
Yep.
So I think the weather has a lot to do with it. And it's funny, early in the week, before I do my parlay cards, I like to look at the weather, and everything was clear and fast. So the weathermen are probably as bad at predicting numbers as we are sometimes. So
can we bet on the weather? Those guys book the weather?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, if it took 28 on the dog, you're probably betting on the weather. But we're down at 24.5. We've had a lot of dog money, but on that other network that I was on for a little while, I gave out 2 teams that I thought were going to be right in the chase. And Florida State was one, with Notre Dame being the other one. But I love this Florida State team. I think that they're just solid all the way around. Really like them, but you go on the road to a conference opponent, and you're a Florida boy. Now you're going up to Boston. It's not like you're going in December. It's still the temperature won't be the issue, but as far as wind and rain, that sort of thing, that probably will be, and that's keeping this number a little bit lower than it probably should have been on a clear and fast track.
Right now, 67 degrees for Chestnut Hill tomorrow. The precipitation chance is down to around 40%. So maybe.
Is that what to say about the wind?
The wind is
the wind right now. There's your problem right there. 30 miles an hour.
That's a lot.
And as Vinny, you talked about this with me plenty of times on the other network. The wind is what makes the difference, not necessarily the precipitation.
Snow a little bit, certainly rain to an extent, but the wind more than the other 2 factors.
Let's go to a game that you guys had listed in your game of the year listings before the season, of course, and that is in Champaign, Illinois. Penn State on the road. Illinois really just smacked down last week by Kansas. Got it close at the end, had a chance to get in the back door if a lot of things happened, had the ball down 11, but they end up losing that game by 11. Penn State 2-0. They took it to the Blueheads. Sorry, UDEL backers and alum there, but Penn State, of course, beating West Virginia week 1. Vinny, how does this game compare now to what it compared to when you guys opened this in the game of the year?
Well, Chris, when we did the games of the year, I think we had a little bit more faith in Illinois. And
we had a little,
Penn State, we opened, I think it was 8 when we opened it last summer.
At 9.5.
And closed, so there was support for the Nittany Lions, and no real shock, right? But we did open this one 14. I think it got as high as 15 earlier in the week, Chris. Now back down to 14. So overall, you look at it, it's a 2-way action. But and again, we don't reflect back on the games. Don't forget those were very early power ratings and things like that. We have to make adjustments and pay attention to results, even in the first, I say, 3 weeks for the college.
Yeah, I patted myself on the back a minute ago telling you about Florida State and Notre Dame. I also picked Illinois to be very good this year, and I was very wrong there. I fell for the Bielema, who talked up his team quite a bit and had a great year last year. He really did. But again, you got to go with what you see. And you're right, Vinny. It was 15 as of an hour ago.
Yeah.
Money showed on Illinois in the last couple. By the way, we've had a lot of movement today, a lot of play, which
it's a good thing.
Hey, we love it. Yeah, keep it coming, buddy. Keep it coming. But I think I did miss the boat on Illinois. I thought they were going to be a lot better this year. And like I said, we still had them as an 8-point dog against Penn State in our look-aheads. By the way, let me talk about that 1 second.
Yeah.
When you're doing these games of the year, everything is priced for perfection. And do you ever watch a football game or ever watch a football season? Very few things go perfectly, but which way does it go? I mean, Penn State Allard might have gotten hurt, and we're with some other quarterback I never heard of. But, Illinois did not play as well as I anticipated. I think you could look at Alabama and Ohio State, maybe have a couple issues. But like I said, 128 teams in the country would like to have their issues. But keep that in mind when you are playing these, especially when you're didn't come to fruition here. But when you're playing favorites, keep that in mind. Things are priced for perfection.
And again, like you mentioned, like what would have happened if Illinois went out week 1, handled a good mid-major in Toledo better than they did.
A good Kansas team, too.
Look, if they went on the road last week to Lawrence and won, this line is not 14, I can tell you that.
It's probably close to that 8 or 9 that we were looking at in the preseason.
I would say it's probably 9, maybe 10 with that. Again, Illinois right now, 2-touchdown underdog at home against Penn State. I want to get one more game here before I may see Jimmy in a few moments because there is a big ticket that came in on this game that we're looking at right now, and that is my alma mater, the Missouri Tigers, taking on Kansas State. We saw this matchup a year ago. Also, we saw this matchup for years and years and years in the Big 12. Thank you again, realignment. Chris, you guys are down to 3.5 right now with the Wildcats laying it in Como tomorrow.
I opened this game 5.5. I was kind of on the high end when I saw it was mostly 5 when I opened it, and I opened 5.5. I thought the higher number was right. I guess we'll find out in about 24 hours which way was right. But I did like the higher number. But the handicappers have come in on the dog. We're down to 3.5 on the game.
Yeah,
and that's pretty solid move here, and for two major schools, two Power 5 schools. So a pretty big move on the dog.
Gee, what a shock! Your alma mater got on a show on the opening show.
Look, I would prefer I would prefer not to mention them. They should have lost last week to Middle Tennessee.
I'll tell you what's interesting about this, and Chris touched on it. The 5.5 on the opener. We just went to 3.5, probably about a half hour ago. It was professional money that took that 5.5. Definitely. They took the 5. Professional money took the 4. So
professional money took the 4.
This is as committed as professionals are. You're going to see professionals get with this one. It's not like they just took that early money.
I mean, look, you can call me a square if you want. Kansas State to me is the better football team, and there's not that much of a home field advantage in Columbia.
No, there really isn't.
As much as I would like to say there is one.
Yeah, that's what I said. I thought the 5.5 opener. Like I said, it was 5 or 5.5. I chose to go with a higher number, and the money's
Kansas State
saying I'm wrong.
Kansas State will be in need tomorrow morning.
We'll probably need Kansas State.
Let's just go with that. Again, the Purple Cats of K-State, 3.5-point favorites on the road. Anything on the total in this one, Chris? It's sitting at 49.5. I know they bet you up, right?
They bet us up a little bit, but nothing
crazy.
Nothing's ringing the big bell. So I don't know.
All right. We have more college football to get to, some NFL as well. We're happy that you're all with us. We're happy to be with you, as always, as well. Sports by the book here at the South Point studio. We have more college football to talk about when we come back next. Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you. The maiden voyage for us here today. Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews alongside, of course. Vinny, what were we saying? 89 years between the two of you behind the counter?
Well, here in Las Vegas.
In Vegas.
I mean, if you include tuition fundraising, there's probably closer to 100.
I did milk money in 5th grade, and that's not a lie. Yeah, that's we had one kid bet us $1. We sweated that one pretty good. Yeah,
the big sweat.
Yeah. Of course, you should have seen the parlay cards we put out. That was more robbery than bookmaking.
I'm sure. Hey, look, throughout the show, throughout the fall, we'll have plenty of story times. I know we'll get the nuns at some point, right, Vinny?
Well, yeah. I mean, the good sisters. They were they had a tremendous influence on my current career.
Absolutely, and also at some point, Jimmy will wander in here. We hope.
Be here.
We expect Jimmy to be here. Some big tickets coming in as well.
Yeah, he's got a few tickets he wants to show.
Yeah, that will be Jimmy will be reporting the big tickets that we've seen throughout the afternoon. There's been a bunch of them behind us here at the South Point Sportsbook. All right, let's go to the SEC. Keep it there. The Bayou Bengals, LSU on the road, Chris, against Mississippi State. Right now, Chris, you guys sitting at 9.5 on this one.
Yeah, we haven't moved off the opener. Yeah. So this is one of these games. It's an early game, an early ESPN game. I mean, listen, the SEC always draws money, draws fans, but looks like the number's pretty good. We haven't moved it, and we got a lot of business on almost every game, and this is no exception. But looks like the number was okay. 9.5 seems to be pretty solid. We haven't had any movement yet.
Feels like, again, number hasn't moved, as you said. I crossed this game off immediately on my card, which means the number was right to me.
Yeah, a little high maybe, if anything, but not much.
So you mentioned before, Chris, Florida State was one of the teams you were high on. They took LSU out in week 1. With Alabama looking vulnerable last week, that was as much as LSU could have asked for.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the SEC West is all of a sudden pretty wide open. Hey, keep an eye on Mississippi too. That's
they can score.
Good win at Tulane last week.
Yeah, Tulane, who I know they were missing the quarterback last week, and they kind of got lucky at the end covering the way they did. But still, a pretty good team. I thought the backup actually was pretty good. But it's one of those deals where I think Mississippi is a good team. And right now, that SEC West is maybe a little bit open. If you can take a good price on Mississippi, you might want to take it.
I don't know how it looks in your power rankings, but this feels like the weakest the SEC has been since I might have been in high school. Because Georgia is the only high-quality team in the SEC East. Alabama is down, as was proven last week. LSU gets blasted week 1. It is a down year for the South.
I think Tennessee is down, too, and that's the one challenge. The one serious challenge I think Georgia had in the East, but I think they handle Tennessee pretty easily.
I think the best way to confirm that too, Jeff, is when you look at our power ratings. It was always closer in recent years, right? I mean, there was maybe a couple of points difference between, for instance, Alabama and Georgia. It's higher this year. We came into the season with a 6-point difference between Georgia and Alabama, and that just continues to grow. And of course, I think the big indicator too, especially in the case of Alabama, is when Nick Saban signs a quarterback after the spring game out of the transfer portal. That tells you a lot, a great deal.
Well, and we'll get to Alabama in a second because they benched Jalen Milroe. He's not starting.
He's not.
Tyler Buckner, the Notre Dame transfer, is going to start, Vinny, against South Florida. And me personally, I like Milroe as their best quarterback going into the year. He did not look good a week ago against Texas, other than that one long touchdown throw.
Well, he won the job in the spring practice. But the difference between spring practice for college and, of course, at least in the NFL, and even though it's predominantly the 2s and the 3s getting the work, at least you have a better idea on your depth chart. Well, obviously now Nick Saban, particularly after last week in the game against Texas, he realizes he's probably got to get a change. They can't afford another loss. So that's
one more loss,
more demanding, right? In terms of for the colleges.
What did you say the difference was in your power rating?
In the beginning of the season, you and I were 6, but now
I just checked. Mine's 9.
Now it's up. Yeah, it's up to.
That's a lot.
That is a big number.
6,
that's a lot.
6 going into the season, but now it's not. The adjustment's not.
I think Georgia. Listen, it's football. God knows they could lose. Who knows what?
Yeah.
Right.
But right now they are pretty much heads above.
Sure.
Really everybody in the SEC. I don't think we've seen the best of Florida State yet. Notre Dame's still not quite up to that level, but I think they're very good. So we still got a lot of teams out there that there's some possibilities. And again, price for perfection. Who's to say things are going to go perfectly for Georgia? But that's a team that's recruited well, coached well. They have everything going for them. But right now, I think they're clearly the best team.
Yeah. What was the conference season wins on? You go 7.5 and juice it over.
No. 7.5 over, like 220 or something like that. Yeah. But we got a lot of money on the under. So I'm a Georgia fan this year.
So you want Georgia to run the table in the
absolutely.
SEC. Guys, look who joined us. Come on in. Come on in. Our guy Jimmy Vaccaro. See, Chris seating the seat to our guy Jimmy. Come on in, Jim.
You got to
come on the microphone.
Please do.
Jimmy Vaccaro, everybody.
Come on, buddy.
Just say, Jimmy, how's the first 2 weeks been? Because I want to say something without telling you what the question is, and you tell me at the end if it was a good response or not.
Well, Jimmy, you can tell us right now since we're on the air.
You ready?
Go ahead, McCartney. How was the first 2 weeks, Jimmy?
Go right ahead, Jimmy.
People have been laughing at me my whole life, so it's not a big deal.
No, we're laughing with you.
No,
you're laughing
with Vinny on that.
Well, first of all, thanks for coming in. Thanks for calling. And you know what? I'm here, Chris and Vinny, and the young man over here is 30 years old, and we have socks that are older than 30 years old.
I'm wearing them right now.
Whatever. So, what I'm going to bring over, just like obviously talk to my two friends here. Look, first of all, let's call it like it is out there. We have about 130 years experience, me, you, and Vinny, that running these places. We came to town probably at a good time when in a sense, the casino started to open up race and sportsbook. So where it is today, where it was, the first 2 weeks was excellent. What I mean by that is like any business that you have, you must keep increasing the handle, because if you don't, the 11 to 10 will eat up on both sides. We got to make more money. So what I'm looking at right now is like something is not completely different, but a lot different than it was those 30 or 40 years ago. Yes, people came. Yes, people bet a lot of money. But how about we just had one customer in the past hour and a half. Here's what his bets he left us with. He took the Jets +9, Jets, Jets.
Zach Wilson, here we go.
That's
right. For $22,000.
That was my cousin JoJo.
He took that, okay? And he must like the animals, too, because then he bet $22,000 on the Jaguars +3.5. But I'm going to stop at the Jaguars for a second so you can understand it. The guy took plus 3.5. The game opened up 2.5, but he knew better to say, there's no sense taking 2.5. I'm going to wait to see if the number is comfortable with me. So now taking 3.5 as opposed to 2.5, you do that for the entire year, you're probably going to win, 8 or 10 more games than you would never have a chance of winning.
Well said.
That's a difference. There are people now, yes, they understand it a little better. They bet a lot of money, but we overcome that because the volume and the people who come in keep getting bigger and bigger every day. If you people would have been there where we were last Sunday, it would look like Super Bowl Sunday. We surmised that there might have been more money bet and tickets written last Sunday, basically before the Super Bowl. That's incredible.
Wow.
We need that. So he wasn't done. Then he bet a total for for over 45.5 for a measly $10,000. Now it's hard to get $1,000 bet on a total. This gentleman right here, he just writes tickets and say, "Come on, we're still open." So once we get to that point,
Bengals, right?
Yeah, the Bengals ticket.
Ravens.
Over on the Bengals and Ravens?
Yes.
And here's something that's unique. The guy bet the Jaguars for $22,000 plus 3.5. He turned around and also bet the Jaguars on the money line.
Took the money.
Plus $1.60. But you say, well, why would he bet that? Because first of all, he could have the Jaguars plus the 3.5 before someone scooped it all up. But here's the tip off why this guy, we know he knows what he's doing. He took plus $1.60 on the money line bet. Now it opened plus $1.25. Once again, this gentleman did not jump in and take plus a quarter. He took, so you're looking at 10,000. It's quite a difference. And as we just talked a minute ago, you go now in a year, if you beat more of these and lose, taking 20 cents difference, you're going to be a winner also. And then here we go again. Mizzou. How could you not bet Mizzou? Good old.
It wasn't me. I can show that right now.
Little old Kalamazoo jumped in and says, you know what? Let's just try for 11,000 on plus the.
We just called surveillance. The guy looked a lot like you.
So what I'm trying to say
was it with the Bobby Valentine disguise?
We're getting more and more people, as you can see right now.
Line's
been
right
that
now.
way, yeah. And the other thing, let's call it like it is. Also, we don't hide anything around here. Our show will be completely a little different than other shows you have seen in the same place. We want to give real information, but we want to spread things around a little bit. We want to talk about things like this that people bring, and obviously, but these guys work. Me, I'm like, I like to walk around and people like me to talk to them. I just ran into a guy, he was 95 years old with his wife. She'll be 95 next week. But here's what I'm getting at. Jimmy, we used to come to the Barbary Coast. Well, that's only 50 years ago. I mean, what do you wait for? So we've grown with the culture where the sports betting is in, and you can see that it's all around. Where are we at? How many more states we need to fill the whole 48?
Well,
32?
we're a little over 40 actually, with in terms of all jurisdictions, incling the District of Columbia. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Kentucky just went online.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Yes.
last week. Yeah.
And the good thing about people like us, I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent to the people out there. It's like simply, we've seen the curve. We've seen the culture. We've seen, we talk about it quite a bit. Let's go back to 1979. I mean, we had baseball, you had football, you had a little basketball, and some fights. Now you see what every day there's usually in every casino sportsbook now. You have at least 150 different ways to make a bet.
That's
150
right,
props.
Very good. Yeah.
We had four props when the Cowboys beat the Steelers 35-31. We all remember that one, don't we, fellas? Well, we got our ass kicked. Thank you.
Dead middle.
So it's been a good ride. We ain't over yet. We might be older, but we ain't older. We're older than like whatever. We're going to take it in stride. We're going to make this thing work. And so I'm proud to have these two as friends, and I'm proud to say that I'm the oldest one here. I really mean that.
We love you, Chunks. We love it. And you're going to keep bringing these tickets as they come, Chunks.
Yes, please.
I mean, we're here.
Whenever you have a ticket,
and I'll be back and listen. And for the year, obviously, these two guys are going to take care of the inside. I'm going to try to bring a little life to it in the sense of like things that are happening right now. And people love to see these things and talk to them. So, all right, gentlemen, I'm going back over there. And Andy Griffith's on. See you later.
Jimmy Vaccaro, everyone. The mayor
An American treasure.
The American treasure.
That's right.
The mayor of the South Point Sportsbook as well.
That's right.
The most interesting part of just the individual bets, because Chris, like Jimmy said, totals, they get hit, but it is very rare you see a big plop down of money like that on a total.
Yeah, we take it.
Yeah.
You know, in the NFL, 10,000 a rattle. And, some of those tickets, it's funny. We might be, especially like in the Kansas City game, we might be rooting for that guy.
Might
come
need that
post
side.
time,
Yeah.
you know.
Good point, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be shocked if you are rooting for him. For all the Jags
I
tickets.
know the guy well. He's been a good customer of ours. He's very much a contrarian. So usually when he comes in, like I said, a lot of times we wind up rooting for this guy. So he's a pretty good player, and I'm glad to have him in our lineup.
Let's take a quick break. We have more college football to get to, more NFL as well. We're happy to be with you here at the South Point studio. It is Sports by the Book. He's Chris. He's Vinny. I'm Jeff. We're back with more next. Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. Happy to be with you. A football Friday for us. I'm Jeff Parles. Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews. Just heard from Jimmy Vaccaro again. The man is a treasure.
The
man is a treasure.
He's an American treasure.
Yes.
I'd call him my consigliere, but the consigliere has to keep everything quiet. There's no chance. He can't keep a secret. There's no way. Vinny would be a good consigliere. Jimmy, forget about it.
He also,
He's special.
as Vinny has said, the only man in America with a Twitter staff.
It's true. He's got a Twitter and an X staff. How about that?
Yeah.
Jimmy, we'll have Jimmy in throughout the
Yes.
entire year. All the big tickets that come in, Jimmy will come on in and report them to us right here on the show. All right, guys, let's get back into some college football here. Another game of the year that you had listed earlier, and let's just call it how it is. Not the most sexy of games that was on that list going into the year.
No, but let me make a point. And sometimes, when you're picking these games of the year, sometimes you want to get a gauge on your power ratings.
No,
and that's why when guys bet me, they go, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him in this game." Hey, thanks for pointing me in the right direction. For my power rating.
And that's what I was going to say. That part of the reason is it helps you guys out. That's why a game like Minnesota, North Carolina has been up for as long as it's been up for you guys.
Chris hits on an extremely important point. First of all, it's great. We create business, we create interest. It's marketing. But the other part of it is we utilize it. There are folks out there, you guys were dead wrong. Again, Chris, in the previous segment, he hit on a key point. That at the time, and again, this is a couple of months back, in very early power ratings, the first run at the power ratings, right? The transfer portal, there's still guys moving around in the transfer portal. So when you take all of that into consideration, it's a valuable tool. We appreciate the business that we get from it.
Sure.
It's a great exercise, and it's a lot of fun. You know what? Do we win every one of them? Absolutely not. But we pay with a smile, and that's fine. But here we go. We have the game here now that's going to do even more business than the previous game of the year.
And you guys barely have not moved this game much. Though.
No, it looks like we haven't moved, but you're wrong. We've moved back and forth a bunch of times.
Right.
So I was looking at my numbers here. I personally made the number 6 because I think Minnesota keeps games kind of low. They have so far.
They have to.
They have to. But we've been back and forth. We had 7, 7.5, 7.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 4 times. Okay, I made the game 6. It's 7 instead. Okay, again, who's the dicker over a point?
Right.
7, 7.5. So it looks like we haven't moved it, but we've actually moved it a lot. We have a lot of business on this game. And I got to tell you, as a fan, I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's a great intersectional matchup. And, I think it should be a lot of fun to watch.
You could say toggling, right?
Toggling between
yeah,
7 and
you could say
7.5. That's
say
right.
that. Toggling
That's right.
all the way through here to kick. Right now, 7 right now on UNC against Minnesota. That is a 12:30 Pacific kickoff, 3:30 local time in Chapel Hill. All right, let's go to the number 1 team in the country and also the number 1 team in your power ratings, guys. Georgia. They welcome in South Carolina. This is the conference opener for both of these teams. 27-point favorites the Bulldogs are between the hedges.
What can you say? Four touchdowns here. It looks like a game it hasn't moved really.
No.
But what Georgia will attract probably public teasers, if any. Professionals, if they play this game, they'll take the point. They're probably going to be more. If they can get 28, if they can get 4 touchdowns, they'll take it. But not every game gets gets all the attention too. You as a bettor have the advantage, right? We have to book all these games. You don't have to bet every one of them. Or maybe it's a situation where you look in-game, right, Chris? I mean, there may be more in-game
there might. Yeah.
than pre-game.
This is another one of those games. I made the number 26. Well, I'm at 27. Hasn't moved.
Yeah.
Again, who's the dicker over that 1 point there? So this has been a good betting game, good action. And, it's going to be the CBS national game. I think everyone wants to see Georgia. I think South Carolina is one of those teams I kind of liked a little bit coming into this year. I don't know if I can hang with Georgia, but, if they get on the board once or twice, we'll probably cover this number.
I think 2 scores gets it done.
I think 2 scores gets
it done for South Carolina. Something like 41-14 obviously would push that 27. So, we'll see. Still amazing to me that Spencer Rattler is still around.
Yeah.
It's still amazing to me.
Yeah.
Of course, the quarterback still for South Carolina. All right. Washington and Michigan State here. Obviously, a lot of things that aren't football related going on in East Lansing right now with Michigan State. Chris, right now you guys are sitting 16.5 here with UW laying it on the road here, 56.5.
Yeah, that's again, my power ratings came to 16.
Right.
So we've been back and forth a little bit between 16, 16.5. But I got to say, as soon as I read the rumor about Tucker, I said, well, Michigan State's going to get out of this contract. There's no way they're going to pay this guy $90 million. We all knew it was a horrible contract, except for whoever the board of directors is at Michigan State. But I knew they would try to get out of this, and we'll see what happens. Sometimes I've seen that go both ways, where he probably recruited a lot of these kids. Are probably in his camp. Maybe they want to play well for him, or maybe they're downtrodden, and 24 hours will say, "See, I told you, I knew that."
Yeah, I've no sense.
I don't either
for this game.
Washington's pretty good though.
Washington's offense is really good.
Yeah.
What you hit on an important point here. If for nothing else, get at least a glimpse of it or watch it. Make sure you read about it. Maybe watch the condensed game. The Pac-12 is better than a lot of people thought.
They're the best. They're the best conference in the country.
I will tell you now that it's the last year. You call it the swan song for the conference or whatever the case may be. But I have to tell you, a much better conference certainly than many of us on our side of the counter thought from a power rating standpoint overall. And they were undefeated in the first week of the season. So keep an eye on them.
They're the best to be. They're the best conference in the country.
You look at
top to bottom. It's not even a debate. Right?
Yeah, you look at a couple teams like Oregon State and UCLA who are kind of like in the middle. They're pretty good teams. They could beat anybody.
Washington State
is a huge favorite this week against San Diego. So
yeah.
Just kind of showing how far the Aztecs have fallen in
a
short period of time as well. All right, Vinny, another game of the year that you guys had. It's in the swamp. Florida welcomes Tennessee in. Right now, Vinny, you guys are sitting at 6 with Tennessee laying it on the road, 57. How has this moved since you guys put it up?
Well, I think there's another one, and Chris will confirm, it's toggling between 6 and 6.5.
Right.
Looks like they're laying the 6 with Tennessee and taking the 6.5 with the Gators at home. Not a lot. They did bet Tennessee on the game of the year, I think, Chris.
They did,
7. They laid 7. They laid 7.5.
Yeah, we closed at 8.
At 8.
Yeah.
So I think overall we'll see a 2. And when a game is like this, and we're talking about the North Carolina game with 7.5. Overall it's great two-way action. We just don't want to see the favorite win by exactly one of the number.
Oh yeah, just keep us away from the number. We'll be okay.
Keep us off the 7 there and 6 here.
Speaking of numbers, I had one guy come in and bet me when I was at 6.5. He bet me 5,000 buying half a point. I don't recommend buying half a point. In college football. You know what? Especially that half point is $1.30.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard enough to win at 11 at 10. You're going to lay $1.30. But obviously we took the bet, and he felt that 7 was such a key number. And I understand psychologically buying it to the tie. I'm just not sure mathematically it works out.
All right, Chris, let's go to a rivalry that's near and dear to your heart. The backyard brawl, Pitt, West Virginia. And Chris, this is one of those where if you like the Mountaineers, you hopefully got in early in the week, because this was Pitt opened as a 1-point favorite for you guys, and this is a favorite flip now.
Yeah, we're up to 2.5, and I see it 2.5 with juice in some spots. Of course, we don't do that at South Point.
Always
we do everything at 11 at 10. This was a game of the year that we opened Pitt 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Never moved. So preseason, people thought we had the right number. Even start of the week, they thought we were pretty close because we opened Pitt 1, and now we're up to West Virginia 2.5. That's funny. I am a Pittsburgh guy, but my very best friend in the world has his son and daughter have gone to West Virginia. There's a lot of, and I'm not a Pitt fan. I'm a Penn State fan. But we're on a thread, and there's a lot of trash talking going on with among my boys back home. So,
I think the market move is right on this game.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I know you're not supposed to look to attack a team coming off of a really bad performance because Pitt was genuinely bad for 3 quarters last week.
Yeah.
And the comeback came too late against Cincinnati. But I just don't like Narduzzi's team, and his quarterback's not good. That's the bigger issue here.
Yeah.
The Boston College transfer a week ago was bad. 10 of 27 last.
Well, I think the other aspect here is this is a major recruiting game too.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh,
when you
big
think
time,
about
yeah.
it, right?
Big
So this
time.
is this is one of, if not the biggest game of the year for West Virginia. When you
all things get because
right?
they're not going to go to Texas and recruit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
they're going to recruit in their backyard.
Yeah.
I thought the opening number was okay. I thought Pitt 1 was
Right.
the right number. So, once again, I'm sure I'll be
See?
rooting for Pitt when they kick off. So likely anyway. But these things have a way of reversing sometimes. But right now, I'm going to need Pitt. I think.
They work themselves out. Let's just go with
Yes,
that.
they do.
This
By the way,
secondary
it's an
is-
ABC national game.
Yes,
That
it
should
is.
be a really good game.
Yes. Again, West Virginia right now 2.5-point favorites after opening an underdog on your game of the year and earlier this week. I want to fit one more in here. Vinny, BYU, Arkansas. Last year, these teams played in Provo. They only combined for 87 points in that game. The total's almost 40 points lower than that game landed last year. And BYU is taking some money this week for you guys.
Yep. When you look at this one here, where we opened it, Arkansas SEC 10.5 point. It's pretty much been a steady stream, a steady diet of Cougar money. Right, we're down to 8 on this game, Chris. So
On the 8,
will it come back up? It's hard to say.
I like the opening number. I thought was okay. Matter of fact, my power ratings come to 12, and I thought sometimes that might be a little bit high because, like you said, the total's much lower this year than they actually scored last year. So the 12 maybe was a bit high, but open at 10.5. I thought that was an okay number, but once again, a lot of BYU money, and it's not just a local thing. Sometimes Western flavor, blah blah blah.
Right.
But I mean, this is all over the country, all over the world. I'm seeing BYU money showing.
Yeah, this is one of those where I was not quick enough to get to 10 because I liked it at 10. I don't like it now. Granted, again, it's not the biggest of moves, but to get the whole 10 is a pretty big deal.
That's
Obviously,
pretty
we got
big.
it early.
Yeah.
Bet it over so far, up about
Yep.
a point and a half to 48.5.
Let's actually get our last college game before we flip over to the pros before we
Okay.
get out of here today. Chris, the Deion Sanders guy,
Who?
Coach Prime.
I haven't
Coach
heard of
Prime,
him.
the sunglasses, the hat, and all. All of his players got sunglasses today, by the way.
Did ours
Yeah.
come in yet?
And
Anybody check
got
the
him?
mail?
I don't know. I don't know if we do or don't. So Colorado State. Chris, a tweet of yours last week roughly got 8 million impressions, it seemed like, with that Colorado.
354,000.
Yeah, which is wild because you
Unbelievable.
really just said it was
I didn't
just the
say
pros
it.
versus Joe's game.
I said the pros are on Nebraska and the public's on Colorado. I didn't say who I liked in the game.
Right.
I really didn't have a strong opinion. I thought, I thought the game should have been much closer to pick, but
Right.
that's, I mean, that's not like you're going to go mortgage the house to go
No, not
take
quite.
3 points, but they got a lot. There's a lot of feelings one way and the other. Let me just say right now, I'm going to root for whoever we need, but I have no affection for Norvell and Colorado State. I'm a little bit of a Nevada fan. I spent a lot of years in Reno, and he really decimated that program up there, which you can see a couple games now. They're 28-point dogs, 29-point dogs
That's
at home
Kansas.
to Kansas.
Yeah.
I'm sure when they scheduled that, they thought this was going to be an easy win. So I have no affection for Norvell and Colorado State, but this is going to be an interesting game, and we'll do a lot of business in this one.
It's a late one too.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
a late
one of
one,
those. One of those.
Yeah.
There'll be carryover to it.
That's the college version of the G game.
The
correct?
G game, yes,
Yes.
which stands for either get out if you did not have a particularly good day, or gravy if you did have a good day. So
I always call it the get even or get even worse
there
game.
you go. Perfect.
Valid on all accounts.
Big G's. But up to 23.5 off the opener of 22.5. If it gets to 24, that's just a buyback on the
There'll be
price.
a take,
Yeah.
take on the
I think
on the
so, yeah.
number. You know, it'll be interesting. The next 2 weeks for Colorado are Oregon and USC. Gonna get a lot more difficult.
Oh,
for the
baby, let
Buffs.
me tell you.
And it might be the get even time for
Yeah,
people.
they can wear sunglasses or not wear sunglasses, whatever. They're gonna be in the big leagues in the next 2 weeks.
It'll be fascinating to see where that Oregon Colorado line opens, especially after what we see, whatever we get out of Coach Prime and company on Saturday night. One last break for us. When we come back, we're going to the NFL. The early look ahead, 2 days away from the Sunday, the second Sunday of the NFL season. When we come back, Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. Welcome back into the South Point Studio. It is Sports by the Book. Happy to be with you. The first journey of many for us here on this show. I'm Jeff Parles, Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews alongside. For the next few minutes, we're going to be looking at the NFL, of course, 2 days away. Vinny and I will be here on Sunday morning, 9 to 10 in the morning, previewing all the NFL games. And boy, what an adventurous week one it was, to say the very least, Chris.
Oh, yeah. you know what, though? I mean, it was one of those deals, and I know anybody who's been following me all these years on Twitter knows I love Andrew Luck. I saw the bad quarterback play the first week. I'm thinking, man, could we use Andrew Luck? But you know what he's doing? He's coaching Palo Alto High School. God bless him.
So you retweeted that earlier.
Good for him. I don't know Andrew personally, but I know a lot of people at Stanford, and they've told me what you see is what you get. He's really that guy. So God bless.
Awesome. Absolutely. That's 5 years now, isn't it?
Hey, it's either 4 or 5.
Yeah, doesn't feel like it was that long.
I know.
Ago, even though it was retiring at the end of the preseason.
Too short a career.
Yeah, too many injuries. That's
Yeah.
all it was for Andrew.
Didn't protect himself.
Yeah. Let's Chris, let's look at some of these games here for Sunday. Let's start in Jacksonville because Jimmy brought it up. A bunch of big bets on the Jaguars here, moving you off the 3.5 and back to the 3 now on Kansas City laying.
Well, we opened this game 2.5, which is I thought was the right number.
I agree.
I think Kansas City, again, they got a new offensive coordinator. They got some receivers. They keep replacing receivers, and we keep saying, well, it doesn't matter. Eventually it matters, and maybe it's mattered so far here. But besides that, I think Jacksonville is a really good team, and it has a great chance of making the playoffs. Over the years, they have not had a strong home field, but this might be a new era in Jacksonville. I thought 2.5 was a good number. And when I make a number 2.5, I want to see where it goes from there. And, now this guy, our friend, took 3.5 on the game. But like I said, we may be rooting for him come game time because to move me from 2.5 to 3 is pretty big. To move me from 3 to 3.5 is even bigger.
Giant move.
And then now he comes in and takes a 3.5. So there, Jeff, last couple of years, you don't have to go begging for Kansas City money. It usually shows up.
Pretty
so
easy,
I might wind up rooting for this. Of course, I don't want this game to fall 3. That's I can tell you that.
Anything but
one.
3 is good with you.
Anything but 3 at this point would be good with me.
Well, in this particular game, don't forget now we get Kelsey is back for the Chiefs as well.
Kelsey and Chris Jones
on the defensive line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so we talk about the quarterback play. You know what? Patrick Mahomes was good in the opener. His receivers were not.
Right.
They also get an extra few days, right? They get a week and a half to prepare for this one too. Now I agree with Chris. There was a time when Jacksonville did not have any home field advantage. It's better here, but this is a game too where you don't want to overreact from week one. This is overreaction. Week 2 is always we can't overreact on our side of the counter. So you can't just. We knew we did not see the true Chiefs the other night. Now, are they as good as they were last year? It remains to be seen. They started off slow last year, too.
They did.
So, in this one here, I think overall we'll get Chiefs money. Chris brings up an important point. Never at a loss for Chiefs money. The public will love the Chiefs, especially with the return of Kelsey and Jones.
It's strange to say this in week 2 because, again, it's a long season. But if you're the Chiefs and you go to 0-2 and losing – the Detroit game in tiebreakers doesn't matter. It's an out-of-conference game. But Jacksonville's probably going to win the AFC South. You don't want to be losing the tiebreaker to a team, and you very easily could be battling for seeding with down the road.
That's a big one, yeah.
Big one.
I got to tell you, Jeff, though, as we get going and and we're in week 2, there's big games all throughout the schedule. I saw somebody was saying, boy, this looks like a tough schedule. I can't remember who they were talking about. Every NFL team has a tough schedule.
Yes.
They're all tired. Look at these numbers. There's a couple big ones we're going to talk about. But every game's tough.
I mean, look, let's go to Buffalo and Vegas real quick. I mean, the Bills, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in the fourth play of the game, and the Bills still lose to the Jets on Monday night. Josh Allen turned it over 4 times. And for the Raiders, look, I know the Raiders were not a good result for you guys last week, Chris. I know that. But right now, Raiders are 8-point underdogs at Buffalo in a game that, let's face it, if the Bills lose as a touchdown plus favorite at home, the Raiders, boy, all the under money that was there for Buffalo may be right.
You might as well get in line and cash your ticket.
Yeah.
Not yet. We're not.
Yet.
We're not FanDuel or DraftKings. No, you can't do that yet. We're going to let you play the season. But right now, I think, we opened the game 10, and as that was Monday or Sunday night. As I review, I got to tell you this. I think that number was too high. I think I made a mistake opening it that high. Again, from the old network that we used to talk about, diminishing returns. And sometimes you get over double digits in the NFL. Diminishing returns, I think, is something you definitely have to look at. I mean, look at that Viking-Eagle game last night. You can go either way on this one, but, clearly to take a big number on the dog was probably the right side. They could have won that game, but I think that comes to fruition. And a lot of times when you look at anything over a touchdown, be aware of that backdoor cover. And, a lot of teams, I mean, it's not a huge total. It's not a low one. It's 47, but that could indicate a pretty close game.
Bill's defense was good against the Jets. It wasn't the defense, but still no Von Miller this week as well. But that said, I think this defense will probably – I think it's better than Denver's defense, what the Raiders saw last week.
I would agree with that.
I would say. So do the Bills rectify some things? We talked about Andrew Luck taking too many hits and not being protected. At some point, Josh Allen's game is going to catch up to where he so there's got to be an adjustment there. I think the Bills – look, with all due respect to the Raiders, and there's a lot of support for the Raiders, and that's no real shock here in Las Vegas. This is a Raider town. It's our local team. There's going to be support for them. But I think we'll see some Bills money. Again, never at a loss for Chiefs money. Trust me, there'll be Bills money when we get to Sunday.
Let's get one more game here, guys, and that's the Jets at the Cowboys. We all know what happened to Aaron Rodgers. 4 plays, that was it. Torn Achilles, done for the year. Zach Wilson comes in. The Jets were the only team last week, guys, to come back from double digits and win in week 1.
Wow.
Which is surprising, to say the very least, on multiple accounts.
Happens every week in college, but not too often in the NFL.
Yeah, just only one of the 16 games a week ago. So, Chris, when you open this pre-Rodgers injury, 3.5, which made a whole lot of sense, a whole 6-point move from Rodgers to Wilson, to 9.5, and it's been a slow, steady move now to 8 right now on New York.
Yeah, once again, diminishing returns. Watch for anything over a touchdown. But I did think the adjustment was right.
I agree.
I think this Cowboy team, listen, somewhere inside me, I'm kind of rooting for Wilson. Yeah, I really am. I think he, for whatever reason, that's just the way my brain works, I guess. But I'm kind of rooting for Wilson. But this is going to be tough. I mean, they are going to pressure this kid. Forget the secondary, but that defensive line for Dallas, they'll be in this kid's face all game. And I just think this is going to be tough. Now, I've seen it over the years, Jeff. A lot of times that first game after the Stars injury, the teams, and I'm talking about basketball, football, teams rise up. So take that into account. But this would not surprise me if the Cowboys really handle them fairly easily.
Still notice that Aaron Rodgers is the most impactful player to the number and has been for the last several years. The 6-point adjustment here, we saw it when he was in Green Bay. Here, the biggest difference, like Chris hit on a key point, it's not just the Cowboys' defense is an entirely different animal, but it's the Jets' offensive line, which we've talked about the entire offseason, the preseason. It's still a work in progress. Those are going to be the factors here.
And Quinn is the defensive coordinator for Dallas.
Solid.
He's got some stuff drawn up for this kid.
I will say, we're talking about 2 of the 3 best defenses in the league in this game.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
The total moved 6.5 points from 45 when he opened it to 38.5.
Yeah, we're looking at 38.5. Pretty low total for any kind of football.
Gentlemen, this was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun.
Well
We
done,
will
buddy.
be here every Friday for this show, the Football Friday version of Sports by the Book. Vinny and I are here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 to 9, previewing all the games in college football, and then again on Sunday from 9 to 10. For Chris Andrews, for Vinny Magliulo, for Jimmy Vaccaro, who was in as
That's
well.
right.
I'm Jeff Parles. We're happy you were with us today. We'll be back for more tomorrow. Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio.